What is up, Internet? And I actually said that really loud, and my mic's close to my face, so that'll be interesting to hear how loud that is when I play back. But today we're looking at DMVPN Part 2. Don't let the PDF lie to you, this is Part 2. It's just the same topology from the last blog post. So in this one, I'm going to show how to secure DMVPN with IPSec. And then we'll do an iBGP setup to get our routing across the DMVPN cloud. We'll talk about some of the fun caveats with that too. So first things first, we'll get our IPSec configured. Right now, we can take a look at our hub, show IP brief, and we'll exclude unassigned. We have our loopback. This is the Ethernet connection connecting us physically into the network. Our NBMA as the NHRP. That's a lot of acronyms back to back, isn't it? The NBMA as the NHRP syntax would say. Then we have our tunnel 172.16.1.10, and we have a loopback address that we're going to be advertising via BGP. Do a quick show DMVPN, show that all the spokes are up. We'll ping said spokes 10.10, 20, and surprise, surprise, 30 will work too. So let's go through and configure our IPSec. You can see that there's no IPSec right now. It's a pretty plain vanilla DMVPN setup. I haven't done anything to enhance the DMVPN, like dropping down your MTU or your TCP MSS adjust. Those are things that you'd want to do in production because that would improve the performance of DMVPN, but this is a lab, I don't really care, so I didn't do any of those things. Alright, so to configure IPSec, it's not vastly different if you ever configured IPSec on a Cisco firewall, ASA, or if you've done it on a router before, this will be even more familiar to you. You have your phase 1, your ISACamp policy, you have your phase 2 transform set, there's a pre-shared key. The only thing that we're going to do differently is we're going to leverage an IPSec profile, and that profile will be put on the tunnel. A more legacy way, I guess you could say more legacy, that feels like an accurate statement. A legacy way of configuring IPSec on a router would be to set up a crypto map. And if you're doing GRE over IPSec, your crypto map would be the interesting traffic in your access list would be matching the tunnel addresses. But again, we don't have to do that now. It's 2014, at least the time of this recording, and we can use IPSec profiles and avoid the use of access lists and all that annoyances. So that actually cuts down the amount of configuration that we have to do. So enough talk about it, we'll actually get into the config. I'm going to throw an enable in there also. We'll go into configure terminal. First thing that we'll want to do is we're going to say crypto ISACamp policy 10. And it could be whatever policy you want. I just usually start with 10. Some people start with 1. We're going to say that the auth is pre-shared. And we're going to use encryption AES 256. I believe the default hash is SHA, but we'll set it in there also, and we'll set group 2. Next thing we have to do is get our pre-shared key set up. So we'll say crypto ISACamp key, and the key we'll use is network nerd. And the address we're going to match is all zeros because it's dynamic multi-point, so we don't want to have to go through and set a key up for each individual peer. All peers will share the same pre-shared key. So crypto IPSec transform, and we'll set our transform set. We'll give it a name of ESP AES SHA, and we'll say ESP AES. We'll set it to 256 ESP SHA HMAC. I'm not going to configure whether it's tunnel mode or transport mode. I'll leave it at the default, which I think is transport, because in terms of just getting the encryption up, it's irrelevant. And we'll say crypto IPSec profile, and the profile, we'll call it DMVPN, and we'll set transform set as this ESP AES SHA transform set we just defined. Last thing is we're going to go on to our tunnel tunnel is interface tunnel 321 in this lab. And we're going to say tunnel protection, IPSec, profile is DMVPN. And also, I've seen this in production too, but it's especially bad in my little virtual environment. If I apply this while the tunnel's up, my DMVPN peers get stuck in either IPSec or IKE, and the tunnel will never actually start passing traffic unless I shut the tunnel interface down and bring it back up. So to avoid that whole mess, I'm going to shut down the tunnel before I do any of this work. So I'll just do a quick shutdown, and then whenever the IPSec profile is assigned to all DMVPN routers, I'll bring the tunnel back up. All right, so again, we have our phase 1 policy here. We have our phase 1 pre-shared key, have our IPSec transform sets. We have our IPSec profile, what's actually going to be assigned to our tunnel interface that's matching that transform set. And under the tunnel interface, we have tunnel protection, IPSec profile, DMVPN. Let's copy and paste. And naturally, I have a typo. So I'm just going to say auth pre. I don't feel like guessing at what that is. I'm going to repaste in all of it one more time. So auth pre, little typo in the phase 1 policy. All right, then we'll go over to spoke 1. Pop that in. Go over to spoke 2. Pop all that in. And finally over to spoke 3. We'll pop that config in there. And we'll just go back and we'll no-shut our tunnel interfaces. I'm going to no-shut the hub really quick. And no-shut on all of our spokes. You see ICamp is on. Thank you, Cisco. So we'll do show crypto ICamp SA. All right, they're in quick mode idle. That's good. Show crypto IPSec SA. We'll just look at one of them. So we'll look at the peer 11120 spoke 2. And I see packets in caps and decaps, which means to show DMVPN. Shows all of them up. Come over to spoke 1. Show DMVPN. He's up. And then here's the big test. So we'll try and ping first the hub. And we'll verify that show crypto IPSec SA. That we're getting packets in caps, decaps. We just sent 5 pings, so that went to the additional 3 that were already there, taking us to 8. So the big test is if we can build a dynamic tunnel now to spoke 2 at 172.16.10.20. Quick show DMVPN, that came up. Show crypto ICamp SA. And spoke 20's in there now. To show crypto IPSec SA, and we'll put the peer address of 11120 in there. That's the MBMA address of spoke 2. And packets in caps. Let's do one more ping. I want to see a few more pings in that. It looks like the first few pings just went through the hub. Ping it one more time. There we go. Now we have packets in caps, packets decaps, and that's setting up IPSec to protect your DMVPN routers. I was going to try and do BGP in this video. It's going to be in the same blog post. I'm just going to break into a second video because iBGP will probably be a lengthy conversation. But that is the part 1 of DMVPN part 2. That's not confusing. How to protect your DMVPN with IPSec.